Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. I have promised this for a very long time, but we're finally doing our updated liquid cooling guide. So we did one back in the very early days of NCIX Tech Tips about 4 years ago. This is going to be the updated one. That was a basic water cooling kit. Now we're going to do a baller water cooling kit. We're going to take our ultimate machine, which we'll do a showcase of later once we're done liquid cooling it, and we are going to install a bunch of Tech water cooling gear in it. So I'm going to do a brief rundown of the overall specs of the machine as well as the Tech gear we're going to install, and then we're going to get started on the whole process. This is part one, but this is going to be a multi-part video due to the length of it. So let's have a look at all the cool water cooling gear we're going to be using for this rig. Here, first of all, we have some green tubing and some green coolant. That's going to go really well with our G1 Assassin motherboard. We also have green LED lit Silverstone air penetrator fans, which are my favorite quiet fans. I think they're just awesome. In terms of Tech gear, we have a ton of it. We've got the Apogee XT Rev 2 water block, the MC-Res Micro Rev 2 reservoir, which is a very convenient reservoir. You can hide it almost anywhere. We've got the MCP 655 pump due to the reliability of this pump as well as the performance. It is the only pump that I recommend using in water cooling, period. All right, we've also got a quadruple radiator. So yes, for our dual GTX 590s and our Core i7 990X Extreme Edition processor, we will need all the cooling surface area we can muster. So we'll be using a quadruple rad to achieve that. We also have dual EVGA GTX 590 graphics cards. These are classified cards with the classified block, which is powered by Tech as well. And you can see the other 590 actually has a stock cooler on it on my test bench here. And the reason for that is actually the theme of this episode overall. So all water cooling starts with air cooling. We have set up our bench, and I will show you guys the procedures you're going to want to run through before you get to use any of this crazy gear at all. Getting all your water cooling gear in the mail is super exciting. You open it up, it's so shiny, it looks so cool, and the first thing you want to do is throw your entire system together and then press the button and find out if it boots. Well, that is a big no-no because it's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. If you don't do your due diligence ahead of time, you're pretty much guaranteed to run into a dead video card or a dead stick of RAM, a dead motherboard, which is going to cause you to have to tear apart your entire painstakingly built water cooling system in order to get that one part out, change the whole thing, and put it all back together. So that's the reason why I always recommend running on a test bench. Now remember, if you don't have a fancy test bench, hey, a motherboard box is just fine too. You take your motherboard, you throw it on there, put your video cards in with the PCI bracket hanging over the edge, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a nice non-conductive test bench. So you want to get everything set up on the test bench, and then I'll show you how to get it all running to make sure everything's working correctly. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is once you've got it set up on your test platform, how to jumpstart your motherboard without a case, without a switch. So some motherboards have built-in buttons where you can just press the button, but this particular one does not. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you, you just have to find the power button, in this case it's the red background ones, and bridge those two pins with anything that is conductive. So that means you can use a key, a pen, really anything that's made of metal. Another thing I want to go over about this system while we have it up here is the things that are going to be water cooled in it. So I'm running my video card with air cooling before I put my water block on it to make sure that it's working 100%. We're also going to have water cooling on the memory. So I'm running those to make sure that they are working before I have to take off the block that goes over top of the memory and then replace a stick and put the whole thing back on. That's a lot of work. And then I'm also running one of these basic pre-configured water cooling systems on the CPU. Using the stock cooler is fine too, because the whole point is, does my CPU work? Does the motherboard work? Because it's a lot of work to get that stuff out. I can't emphasize that enough once you have already liquid cooled the system. So yeah, we're running water cooling now, but we're going to be looking at a whole different performance level of water cooling once we get the custom gear installed. So let's talk about some of the tools that I want you guys to run on your liquid cooled machine before you liquid cool it. One of them, or actually two of them, are CPU-Z and GPU-Z. You want to go ahead, open those up, make sure that both GPUs are detected on a dual GPU card. I've seen dual GPU cards where one of the GPUs is defective and not even detected in GPU-Z at all. I've also seen situations, and this CPU-Z can help you with, where some of the memory is not detected. So you can see here, I've got all 12 gigs of my memory detected, no problems. Two other things that I would definitely recommend running, because these are the ones that are going to be the most work if you have a problem, are run Prime 95 Blend for at least 12 hours. I'd really prefer if you ran it for 24. And then also run 3D Mark 11 or 3D Mark 2006. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Find some kind of a reasonably recent 3D Mark. Vantage is also fine. And run that in loop mode for at least a few hours. Scanning. You have to actively scan it near the end of the run to make sure that there are no artifacts on the screen, that is, any graphical anomalies that don't look like they belong in the image. Once you've done that, then you are pretty much ready to start the liquid cooling process. However, that is the end of this video. This is just the preparation video. Stay tuned for part 2 of our How to Build Your Ultimate Liquid Cooled System guide.